Good evening. You're watching the news on Croatian television. Agricor's government-appointed crisis management team and the Association of Agricor Suppliers held a 4-hour heated discussion over the first draft of the debt settlement plan, according to which all the assets from Agricor's stronger businesses would be placed into a single holding company with thousands of creditors as shareholders. Furthermore, all the guarantees and debts belonging to the former Agricor structure would be written off. Suppliers outright rejected the proposition.
Let me illustrate exactly how I feel about this settlement, or should I say the draft of the settlement. This is what suppliers think about it. We know how to protect our own interests, because by protecting the interests of Croatian suppliers, you protect the interests of the Croatian economy.
Ante Ramljak, the government-appointed crisis manager, said the plan was in the early stages and that a compromise would be found.
We are simply in the first phase of negotiations. Of course, right now there are some unacceptable aspects, but we will work together on them over the next 3 or 4 months. As for certain unsatisfied parties, it was expected. It's clear that from now on we will have to deal with specific suppliers in a completely different manner moving forward. On the other hand, once we make those concessions, other groups will then become dissatisfied. We have to find a happy medium.
Economy Minister Martina Dalic commented on the outcome of today's meeting, saying that it was clear from the beginning that a negotiation over the settlement agreement would not be easy.
Negotiations among creditors cannot and will not be easy, but I'm also dissatisfied by the actions of certain suppliers. Meanwhile, I want to remind you that suppliers are the only category of creditors which have received a cash payment for part of the debts owed to them. Therefore, I expect the negotiations to continue and for all of the creditors to participate in these negotiations in a constructive way so that we can achieve our common goal. And that is a deal that will enable the continued operations of all of Agricor's companies.
Meanwhile, the Zagreb Stock Exchange temporarily suspended trading in shares of Agricor companies until the details of the draft settlement agreement are made public. At the beginning of today's government session, Prime Minister Andrej Plenković addressed the meeting he had with the Slovenian Prime Minister on Tuesday. He called for more dialogue, saying both sides needed to come together to draw up a mutually agreeable border.
What I can say is that we are continuing to work on the details of the border demarcation following our talks and between our respective experts. I feel like we are much closer to reaching an agreement than it appears. All the contested points are much less impactful on the daily lives of our people and the citizens of Slovenia on both sides of the border. We are open to reaching an agreement that will be acceptable to both sides. We especially want to avoid any unilateral moves and prevent any potential conflicts that may occur along the border at sea.
The government has taken the first formal step towards joining the Eurozone and the adoption of the Euro single currency. A draft bill was adopted to ratify the EU's Treaty on Stability, Coordination and Governance in the Economic and Monetary Union, also known as the Fiscal Stability Treaty. The government unanimously adopted an initiative by the Health Ministry regarding the procurement of medicines for rare and life-threatening diseases that are not covered by the state health insurance plan. Funding for the drugs will be secured through public donations from an upcoming charity drive.
We are confident that Croatians will support this cause, just like they have in the past, and we will be able to secure the necessary funds. Finally, the Ministry of Health, together with the Health Committee and a team of experts, will evaluate who will be among the potential patients who will receive the medicine.
A special expert commission for the implementation of the National Education Strategy held its first session today. The Commission agreed to have an updated education action plan in place ahead of their next session on January 11th. Afterwards, a new tender will be opened up for applications to the expert working groups.
The criteria will be very clear and a public tender will be opened up. All the information about the members must be made available to the public. The criteria must be precise. That's the only way to approach this issue.
The National Security Council held session today with the Prime Minister and President in attendance. The key points of the National Security Strategy were presented, including the law on homeland security. The Council also adopted the plan for the Security Intelligence Agency for 2018. UNESCO officially presented the Dalmatian cities of Zadar and Šibenik with 2 new certificates of inscription on the World Heritage List. Zadar's fortified city walls and the St. Nicholas Fortress in Šibenik were included this past summer on UNESCO's protected list of Venetian defensive fortifications from the 15th and 17th centuries.
Just look around. This is a wonderful monument, really an example of military architecture of the 16th century, one of the most important in the entire Mediterranean. So I think there is no question that this should be in the World Heritage List.
Taking a quick look at sports and NBA basketball from last night, Croatia's Bojan Bogdanovic had 19 points and 2 steals in the Indiana Pacers' 105-95 win over the Atlanta Hawks. Fellow Croatian Mario Hezonja added 12 points and 2 rebounds in the Orlando Magic's 112-94 loss to the Chicago Bulls. And Dragan Bender had 8 points and 1 assist for Phoenix in the Suns' 108-95 loss to the LA Clippers. The weather forecast for tomorrow calls for predominantly sunny skies on the coast and in coastal areas. The interior will see variable cloud cover with some sunny periods. There will be some passing precipitation that could turn to sleet, especially overnight and into the morning in the far east of the country. Winds will be mild inland with a moderate northeasterly and northerly on the coast, reaching gale-force gusts in places. Morning lows of -5 to 0 degrees in the interior and from 1 to 5 on the Adriatic will give way to highs of 4 to 9 inland and 10 to 14 degrees Celsius on the coast. The 3-day forecast for the interior calls for warmer weather over the Christmas long weekend. Passing moderate cloud cover on Saturday could bring with it some light precipitation. Expect lingering fog on Sunday and Monday. The coast will see sunny skies on Saturday and Sunday with northeasterly and northerly winds dying down. Predominantly overcast on Monday with some fog. The northern Adriatic could see some rain with southwesterly winds. Temperatures will be around the average for this time of year. And that brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow night.